So, in the month of July, we've really focused in on recruiting and we've been talking about some of the nation's best and most impressive recruiting classes. And given the way this institution has recruited, plus the win they got last night, today we need to revisit the Texas Longhorns because yesterday Texas got in a huge victory over the likes of Texas A&M and the Alabama Crimson Tide for top 50 player in all of high school football, four-star cornerback Malik Muhammad out the state of Texas. Today, we need to talk about what Malik Muhammad brings to the table, why this is such a big win, and everything in between. But before we do, as always, y'all know the drill. I need to hear from you. Hop down to the comments, Y for yes, N for no. Are you excited that Malik Muhammad chose to stay in the state of Texas and play his college football for the Texas Longhorns? Let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification as I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it, and if you enjoyed this content, like and comment down below. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. And this is a great win for the Texas Longhorns, something that's been consistent in the month of July. And really, this Texas class has been hyper impressive, and a lot of people have dubbed it Arch Madness, Arch Mania. The end result is all the same. Ever since Arch Manning committed, we have seen an avalanche of players going to that Texas class and players showing more interest in possibly joining that class. And if you're Steve Sarkisian and the Texas Longhorns, that's exactly where you want to be. Because with the commitment of Malik Muhammad, you are now at the number 3 recruiting class in the nation with 19 commits, and the season is right around the corner. You don't have to worry about trying to fill in your class. You already have 19 guys. If you can get to 21 before the season starts, well, now your focus is primarily on the season, the football there, and recruiting isn't looming over your head. You're in a much different place than if your class had 4 to 5 commitments in mid to at the very end of July, and now during the season, recruiting is a cloud over your program because you know you have a lot of work to do outside of your football season, which is already a ton of work. But now let's refocus and talk about what Malik Muhammad brings to the table, because anytime you can get in a top 50 player in all of high school football, it is a massive win. But when you can get in a cornerback with the skill set that Muhammad has, you have to be excited. Because the first thing you're going to notice when you start watching Malik Muhammad's film is that he invites contact. He does not shy away from physicality. He is a tone setter at the defensive back position. And I love that because guys like that, guys that are going to make a big hit, that aren't going to shy away from contact, provide energy to the entirety of your defense. And that's something I think that Texas is going to really try and look for, is guys that can provide that energy, that spark to get everybody going. And that's exactly what Malik Muhammad does. On top of that, he was asked to do several different things in high school, and he did them all at an elite level. He stands right around 6 foot, 175 pounds, but with his combination of speed, coverage skills, and physicality, you are very excited about what Malik Muhammad brings to the table. And when you really look at this Texas class from top to bottom, the cohesion in it is really nice. Something that I've talked about that Steve Sarkisian and this staff have been able to do very well from last class to this class. When you look at these classes, they're not just a collection of talent. You can actually see a thoughtful approach to recruiting and a team trying to address the needs they have and do so quickly with the offensive line class Texas got last year and the way they're focusing in on the areas of need in this class, which is why going forward and not long ago, I asked you all who you thought was the most important prospect left on the board for the Texas Longhorns. I provided a name, and that name was Anthony Hill, and many of you agreed, but there was also another name that many of you offered to me that you said you would put as important, or if Anthony Hill was 1A, you would put David Hicks as 1B. And I have to admit, I can't disagree with that at all. I think you all make a fantastic point in bringing David Hicks to my attention. Because when we're looking at the Texas defense, the biggest area of need, in my opinion, is that inside linebacker position. But you'd be remiss if you said you didn't need some elite defensive linemen, and especially when you look at who your defensive line coach is, being Bo Davis, and the reputation he has. But interestingly enough, Texas has reportedly entered into this David Hicks race and made a really good impression. So what happens going forward is going to be interesting. But at the end of the day, just the fact that you can enter into races at this point in the process and make those sort of impacts means you're doing something right. If Texas is able to go out there, have a good showing this year, just be an improved football team. Remember, I talk about this all the time. I've said this with USC, I've said this with Miami, and I've certainly said this about Texas before, but it deserves to be talked about again. I'm not asking for Texas to make the college football playoffs this year. I think they're going to be an improved team. I love some of the areas they have. I mean, for instance, if you're talking about the skill position at the Texas Longhorns, the tight ends, wide receivers, and running backs, you feel as good about that room as any room in the nation because of the collection of talent that's there. But there are still areas that need to be able to match that talent. And that's what Steve Sarkisian and company are doing. And that's why I bring to your attention the cohesion we see in these recruiting classes. Because Sark is making it a point to address the needs and do so ferociously, which I love. This new staff is making it a point to try and fix the wrongs of previous staffs. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it all comes together, especially if they keep recruiting at this level, because Arch Manning and the win that was for Steve Sarkisian cannot really be understated. And if we really zoom out and look at this from the time Steve Sarkisian got there to now, getting in Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning is about as big of a win as you could have wanted if you were a Texas fan. Remember when Quinn Ewers didn't go to Texas, but there was at least the prospect of Arch, and so many Texas fans came to me and said, you know what? It's okay, we would have loved to have Quinn, but Arch is there in the future, and we look like we're in a good position with him. Fast forward to now, not only do you have Arch, not only have you seen the ripple effects Arch Manning has provided your recruiting class, you also have Quinn Ewers. And if you want to talk about ripple effects, look at what Texas did in the transfer portal. While I'm not claiming, certainly not, that all of that is due to Quinn Ewers, I think that Quinn Ewers at least played a part in it, even if it's a fractional part, a part in it. And we've seen Steve Sarkisian put up big numbers offensively, even last year when they didn't have an offensive line. If Quinn Ewers is the guy many think he could be, I don't see where this offense isn't going to keep putting up big numbers. It's all hinging on that offensive line. But at the end of the day, if they keep recruiting at this level, Texas is a team we have got to watch, especially if they can show signs of life this season. And that's why I think so many eyes in the college football world are going to be peering into Austin, really wondering what comes next. But if we're speaking about recruiting, the Arch Manning mania that has happened after that has really put Texas in a good position, and they've been able to capitalize off of that momentum. Because having hype is one thing, but if you can't capitalize off that hype, it's all for nothing. And Texas, well, they've been able to capitalize off the hype as well as any team in the nation, and because of that, I can't wait to see what happens going forward. Hop down to the comments, let me know who you would like to see commit to the Texas Longhorns next. Let me know your greatest area of need and everything in between. That's it. See ya.